Well, the other big story in Washington Monday was the meeting between the Prime Minister of Israel and President Barack Obama, with the subject of Iran topping the agenda. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged Obama to keep tough economic sanctions on Iran in place, even as the U.S. weighs a potential warming of relations and a restart of nuclear negotiations with Tehran's new government. The White House meeting came just days after Obama's historic phone call with the new Iranian president. The 15-minute call marked the first direct conversation between U.S. and Iranian leaders in over 30 years. With us now is WarrenHoge, senior advisor from the International Peace Institute, and he's also a former foreign correspondent for the New York Times. He's going to give us a little perspective on this. Thank you so much for being here on Arise America. I just wonder, Warren, how much is at stake? It seems as if President Obama is kind of walking a fine line between testing, to use the word that he used, diplomacy with Iran, and maintaining the good relationship that we have with Israel.
He absolutely is, but Netanyahu is also walking a fine line, because they are very disturbed in Israel by the rapprochement that happened last week between the Iranian and American presidents, the phone call and all of it. At the same time, Netanyahu is speaking tomorrow at the United Nations, the same forum where the President of the United States, the President of Iran, spoke last week. It's exactly a week later. And he will give an address. Last year, he appeared with a bomb and a red line on it and said, we have to stop Iran now. It's launched. It's just months away from having a bomb. This year, he can't do that, because the United Nations was the scene of this remarkable coming together last week. Now, it was all symbolic, but it's very important symbolic. And it's the first time in 30 years that these two countries have spoken to each other at the high level. So, and it was welcomed by all the members of the United Nations. So Netanyahu obviously is going to say, be careful, we don't trust them. He might even cite the example of North Korea, which agreed in 2005 to end its weapons program and then basically betrayed the world and went ahead and developed it. But he has to be quite careful about how he does that, because he's speaking to an audience that's really thrilled and excited by the possibilities that this conversation has opened up.
Yeah, indeed. It would seem that perhaps Israel might be one of a few, if any others, that are not exactly encouraged by this alternative. So let's take a step back. Talk to me a little bit about the relationship between President Obama and Netanyahu. It's been a bit bumpy, has it not?
It's been very difficult. You remember that Obama, in his first year of office, made the famous speech in Cairo, which was welcomed by the Arab world. But in that speech, he said that settlements in the West Bank, Israeli settlements, were illegal, and they are internationally. But to have an American president say that, and that set him apart from Netanyahu at that point. They've had several meetings since in which the body language has been pretty clear. They don't really trust each other very much. I'm told today, I was reading reports of them at the White House, and the reporters were saying they seem to be much more agreeable today. You can be sure that as Obama has gone forward in these talks and negotiations with the Iranians, that he has kept the Israelis apprised, because Israel is too important to him politically because of its following in this country, and also because, quite seriously, the United States is the guarantor of the state of Israel, and so they have to publicly be on Israel's side. At the same time, I'm sure they're privately saying, we're going to test this thing, we're going to be careful, we're going to verify, we're not going to accept anything on face value. Netanyahu apparently said today in Washington, thanked the president for his efforts to bring the Palestinians and Israelis together, thanked the president for having put such tough sanctions on the Iranians, that the Iranians have come to the table. He said that's the reason they're here, and I think the president was, and he also thanked the president for saying repeatedly, force is still on the table if they're too close to building this bomb.
There was almost an obligation for him to say that,
Absolutely.
would you not? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that. You use a very interesting word, verification. Yeah. And I think that verification means something different with each of the parties. Verification that would satisfy the U.S. would be completely different than what Iran might agree to, which might even be different than what would satisfy Israel. Is that really kind of where the sticking point is going to be?
It is, but what's different about this negotiation now, Debbie, is how it's been set up. In the past, negotiations between Iran and the United States and the other countries that they're talking to always break down on small things. They've now agreed they will go for the sort of final status. In other words, in 2 weeks' time, the Iranian president is supposed to present some ideas. We know what the final arrangement will be if it works. That will be the Iranians will agree to curb their nuclear production and maybe to shut down some of it, and the Americans will agree to ease up on the sanctions. So in other words, the deal is there to be had. How they get to it, the sequencing and the pacing, but both sides have said they want to do it quickly.
And let me ask you this question also, as it relates to Syria. With the pursuing of the diplomatic alternative, the agreement with the chemical weapons, does that in any way weaken our stance in Israel's eyes as we pursue this diplomatic option with Iran?
The Israelis believe it does. I don't think necessarily that's right. But the thing about Syria and the importance of Iran right now is if we come to, Iran is the most important country now in that region. And to have the United States and Iran at loggerheads all the time is really not good for either country. This is the first chance we've seen that both countries realize that. And if they came to some kind of agreement or settlement or way to live with each other, that opens up all kinds of other possibilities, including a settlement in Syria.
All right, we're going to have to stop the discussion right there, but there are so many nuances in this topic. WarrenHoge, thank you very much.
Nice to be here.
And this is Arise America.